Elena O'Hara knew something was wrong when her stepmother smiled at her father's funeral. Not the polite, grief-stricken smile of a widow accepting condolences. Not the trembling smile of someone barely holding themselves together. This was different. This smile had teeth. And it was aimed directly at Elena, like a weapon. "Thank you so much for coming. Veronica Corley, no. Veronica O'Hara now," Elena reminded herself bitterly, said to the departing mourners, her hand pressed dramatically to her heart. Victor would have been so touched by this turnout. He was such a beloved man. Elena stood across the room, numb. Her father had been dead for exactly 48 hours. The heart attack had been sudden, brutal, stealing him away in the middle of a Tuesday afternoon. No warning.
No goodbye.
Just gone. Hello, beautiful souls. I'm so grateful you're here with me today, because this story, Elena's story, is going to take us on a journey of betrayal, hidden truths, and the kind of justice that restores your faith in karma. Before we dive deeper, tell me, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments. I love seeing our global family. And how are you doing today? Really, I want to know. Quick question. Have you subscribed to the channel yet? Because if you haven't, hit that subscribe button right now. This story has twists you won't see coming, and an ending that will make you believe in perfect justice. You absolutely cannot miss what happens next. Now, let's get back to the moment Elena's world began to crumble. The funeral reception was held at the O'Hara estate, the sprawling mansion Elena had grown up in, where her mother had died when Elena was 12, where her father had raised her with gentle kindness and unwavering love, where Veronica had arrived 5 years ago like a viper in designer clothing. Elena watched her stepmother work the room, touching arms, accepting sympathies, playing the grieving widow with Oscar-worthy performance. The black Chanel dress fit her perfectly. The tears came at precisely the right moments. Even her makeup was flawless, with just enough smudging to suggest genuine emotion without looking unattractive. Veronica had always been beautiful. At 42, she could have passed for 35, with platinum blonde hair, surgically enhanced features, and a body maintained by personal trainers and strict dieting. She'd been a wellness influencer when she'd met Victor O'Hara at a charity gala, though Elena suspected her real career had been hunting wealthy, lonely men. And Victor, still grieving his first wife 15 years after her death, had been easy prey.
Elena, darling.
Veronica appeared at her elbow, her voice honey-sweet and venomous all at once. "Could you help in the kitchen? The caterers are asking questions, and I'm just so overwhelmed with guests." Translation: disappear. "You don't belong in this room with important people." Elena bit back her response and headed to the kitchen. "Pick your battles," her father used to say. "Save your energy for the wars that matter." She just didn't know the war was about to begin. The lawyer arrived 2 hours after the last guest departed. Arthur Price had been the O'Hara family attorney for 30 years, a dignified man in his 70s with kind eyes and the sort of old-world courtesy that was becoming extinct. He'd known Elena since she was a child, had helped her father navigate her mother's death, had been a quiet, steady presence in the background of their lives.
"Misters O'Hara, Miss O'Hara."
He nodded to both women as they settled into Victor's study. "I'm so very sorry for your loss. Victor was a good man and a dear friend." "Thank you, Arthur." Veronica dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. "This is all so difficult. But we need to move forward with the estate matters, I suppose. Victor would have wanted that." Elena sat silently, her hands folded in her lap. Something felt wrong. Veronica was too composed, too eager. Arthur opened his briefcase, pulled out documents. Victor's will is straightforward in most respects. However, there are some unusual provisions that we need to discuss. Unusual? Veronica's smile tightened slightly. "What do you mean?" "Well, the primary will, the one filed with the county, leaves the bulk of the estate to you, Mrs. O'Hara. The house, the investment portfolio, the business assets. All total, approximately $42 million. Elena's stomach dropped. The bulk of the estate, to Veronica, the woman who'd been in their lives for 5 years while Elena had been her father's daughter for 26. And Elena? She heard herself ask, her voice sounding distant. Arthur's expression was carefully neutral. You receive a trust fund of $200,000 and some personal items. Your father's book collection, your mother's jewelry, some photographs. $200,000. Less than 0.5% of the estate. For trinkets and memories while Veronica got everything. Elena felt like she'd been slapped. Of course, Victor was very generous to Elena considering she's not actually his biological daughter. Veronica began. I am his daughter. Elena's voice cracked. He raised me. He loved me. Biology doesn't change the legal reality, darling. Veronica's smile was pure poison now. Victor and I were married. Legally, his assets passed to his spouse. That's how these things work. Arthur cleared his throat. Actually, Mrs. O'Hara, there are some complications. What complications? You just said the will leaves everything to me. The primary will, yes. But there's also, then we're done here. Veronica stood abruptly. Thank you, Arthur. Please send me the paperwork to sign, and we can finalize everything quickly. I'm sure Elena understands that this is what Victor wanted. Arthur's eyes flicked to Elena, and she saw something there. A warning? A question? Arthur, Elena said quietly. What were you about to say? About complications? Nothing that concerns you, dear. Veronica moved toward the door. Arthur, I'll expect those documents by Friday. Mrs. O'Hara, I really think we should discuss. Friday, Arthur. Good day. The lawyer left, and Elena was alone with her stepmother in her father's study. The room still smelled like him, coffee and old books and the sandalwood cologne he'd worn for years. Veronica's mask dropped the moment the front door closed. Let's be clear about something, Elena. Her voice was ice now, all pretense gone. This house, this money, this life, it's mine now. Your father married me. He chose me. And you. She looked Elena up and down with contempt. You're just the reminder of his first wife. The daughter who never quite lived up to expectations. That's not true. Dad loved me. Your dad pitied you. But he loved me enough to leave me everything. Veronica walked to Victor's desk, ran her fingers possessively over the mahogany surface. So here's what's going to happen. You have 2 weeks to pack your things and get out of my house. Take your little inheritance and your mother's costume jewelry and disappear. This is my home. This is my home. I own it, which means I can have you removed for trespassing if you're not gone by the end of the month. Veronica's smile returned, cruel and victorious. Don't make this ugly, Elena. Take what you were given and be grateful your father left you anything at all. Elena stood on shaking legs, her mind reeling. This couldn't be happening. Her father wouldn't have done this. Wouldn't have left her with nothing, with nowhere to go. But the will was clear. Arthur had confirmed it. Everything belonged to Veronica. As Elena climbed the stairs to her childhood bedroom, Veronica's laughter echoed behind her, bright and terrible and triumphant. What neither of them knew was that Elena's father had been far more clever than Veronica imagined, and the secret he'd left behind was about to change everything. Have you ever been betrayed by family? Ever felt like everything you loved was being stolen? Drop a comment and let me know, because Elena's journey is just beginning, and what she discovers will make you believe in perfect justice. Elena's bedroom looked exactly as it had for the past 14 years. Her father had insisted she keep it when she'd moved back home 3 years ago after her startup failed. This is your home, sweetheart, Victor had said, wrapping her in one of his bear hugs. It will always be your home. No matter what happens, you have a place here. Now, surrounded by remnants of her childhood, debate team trophies, vintage posters, her mother's watercolor paintings on the walls, Elena felt the weight of those words crushing her chest. No matter what happens, you have a place here. But she didn't. Not anymore. Elena pulled out her laptop and opened her banking app with trembling fingers. Checking account, $3,247. Savings, $12,891. Her tech startup had burned through her college fund before imploding spectacularly 2 years ago. She'd been rebuilding slowly, working as a freelance web developer while living at home rent-free. Living at home, in what was now Veronica's house. $200,000 from the trust would change her situation dramatically if she could access it. But Elena knew how these things worked. Trusts had conditions, waiting periods, trustees who controlled distribution. Arthur would be managing it, which meant Veronica would probably find a way to delay or complicate access. 2 weeks to find a place, move out, and start over. Elena opened her phone, scrolled to her recent calls. The last conversation with her father was from 2 days before he died. Dad, I'm bringing dinner tonight. Ty, okay. Perfect, sweetheart. Actually, I need to talk to you about something important. Something about... about what? Let's discuss it over dinner. It's complicated. But Elena, I need you to know that no matter what happens, I've made sure you're protected. Always. She'd arrived with pad thai and spring rolls to find paramedics already there, her father on the floor, Veronica hysterical. He'd been gone before Elena had even pulled into the driveway. I've made sure you're protected. What had he meant? The pittance in the trust fund? The books and jewelry? Elena's phone buzzed. A text from her best friend, Maya Gatsby. How are you holding up? Want me to come over? Elena hesitated, then typed. Veronica kicked me out. 2 weeks to vacate. Can I crash with you while I figure things out? The response came immediately. What? That bitch. Yes, absolutely, my door is always open. But, Elena, you need to fight this. Your dad would want you to fight. Would he? Elena had never been a fighter. That had been her mother's gift. Rebecca O'Hara had been a force of nature, a civil rights attorney who'd fought injustice with fierce intelligence and unshakable principles. She died defending a wrongly accused teenager, working herself to exhaustion until her heart simply gave out. Elena had inherited her mother's dark hair and sharp mind, but not her courage. Where Rebecca had been a warrior, Elena was a strategist. Where her mother had confronted problems head-on, Elena preferred to analyze, plan, find elegant solutions to complex problems, which was probably why her father had loved her so much. Victor O'Hara had been brilliant but gentle, a tech entrepreneur who'd built his fortune creating accessibility software for disabled users. He'd believed technology should serve humanity, that success meant nothing if it didn't improve lives. He taught Elena to code when she was 8, to think critically, to find beauty in elegant problem-solving. He'd also taught her that sometimes the quietest person in the room was the most dangerous. Never underestimate the power of patience, sweetheart, he told her once. Let your opponents think they've won. Let them get comfortable. That's when they make mistakes. Was that what she needed to do now? Let Veronica think she'd won? 15 years earlier, Elena could still remember the exact moment her mother died. She'd been 12 years old, sitting in the hospital cafeteria with her father, drinking hot chocolate that tasted like chalk. A doctor had approached, his expression carefully neutral, and her father had stood so fast his chair fell backward. Mr. O'Hara, I'm so sorry. Elena had watched her father crumble. This strong, brilliant man reduced to sobs in a sterile hospital corridor. She'd stood frozen, unable to process that her mother, vibrant, fierce, indestructible Rebecca, was simply gone. The years that followed had been quiet. Victor had thrown himself into work, but never at Elena's expense. Every dinner, every school event, every late-night conversation about life and love and loss, he'd been there. Present. intentional. They'd been a team, father and daughter against the world. Until Veronica. 5 years ago, Elena had been 21, finishing her computer science degree, when her father had called with news. "Sweetheart, I met someone. I'd like you to have dinner with us this weekend." Elena's first reaction had been relief. Her father had been alone for so long, and she'd been worried about him. Worried about what would happen when she graduated and moved away. Veronica had arrived at the restaurant in a cloud of expensive perfume and careful charm. She'd asked Elena questions about her studies, complimented her intelligence, touched Victor's hand with what seemed like genuine affection. "Your father talks about you constantly," Veronica had said, smiling. "You're clearly the most important person in his life. I hope we can be friends, Elena. I'm not trying to replace your mother. No one ever could. I just want to make your father happy." Elena had wanted to believe her. God, she'd wanted to believe that this beautiful, polished woman actually cared about her father and not his estimated $40 million fortune. But something had felt off. The way Veronica's smile never quite reached her eyes. The way she'd steered every conversation back to Victor's businesses, his investments, his impressive portfolio. Elena had voiced her concerns once, gently, a month before the wedding. "Dad, are you sure about this? You barely know her. Maybe you should wait, Elena." Her father's voice had been firm but kind. "I know you're worried, but I'm not a fool. I know what I'm doing. And I promise you," he'd taken both her hands, "nothing will ever change between us. You're my daughter. That's forever." Veronica understands that. The wedding had been small, elegant, expensive. Elena had stood as maid of honor in a dress Veronica had chosen, smiling for photos while her gut screamed warnings she couldn't articulate. And for the first 2 years, things had been manageable. Veronica had been polite to Elena, if distant. She'd redecorated the mansion, accompanied Victor to social events, played the role of devoted wife. But 3 years ago, when Elena's startup failed and she'd moved back home, everything changed. Veronica had been furious when Victor had offered Elena her old room. She's 23 years old. Elena had overheard Veronica hissing in the study. She needs to learn to stand on her own. Having her here is enabling her failures. She's my daughter, and she's going through a difficult time. This is her home. This is our home, Victor. Yours and mine. Having a grown woman living with us is inappropriate. Elena stays. That's final. It had been one of the few times Elena had heard her father put his foot down with Veronica, but it had cost him. The temperature in the house had dropped 20 degrees. Veronica had been coldly polite to Elena after that. Passive-aggressive comments about Elena's job search, her social life, her failure to launch. Little digs wrapped in false concern. "Still working from home, dear? Must be so isolating. I worry about you. Another Friday night in? When I was your age, I was out every night. But I suppose everyone's different. Your father works so hard to provide this lifestyle. I hope you appreciate it." Elena had endured it silently, not wanting to cause problems. She'd focused on rebuilding her career, on being present for her father, on proving Veronica wrong about her. Being a failure. She'd never imagined Veronica was planning something far worse than petty cruelty. A knock on Elena's bedroom door pulled her from her memories. "Miss O'Hara?" Maria Lopez, the housekeeper who'd worked for the family for 20 years, peeked inside. Her eyes were red from crying. "I'm so sorry to disturb you. I just wanted to say," her voice broke, "your father was a good man, the best man I ever worked for. And this, what Mrs. Veronica is doing, it's not right." Elena stood, pulled Maria into a hug. "Thank you. For everything. For being here all these years. What will you do? Where will you go?" "I don't know yet, but I'll figure it out." Maria pulled back, glanced over her shoulder to make sure they were alone, then pressed something into Elena's hand. "Your father gave this to me 3 weeks ago. Said if anything ever happened to him, I should give it to you privately. I didn't understand then, but Elena looked down at the small brass key in her palm. What is this? Safety deposit box. Bank of America downtown, the main branch. He said you'd understand what to do with it. Maria squeezed Elena's hand. Whatever's in there, I think your father wanted to make sure you had it. Just you. After Maria left, Elena stared at the key, her heart racing. Asterisk, I've made sure you're protected. Always. Asterisk, her father had known. Somehow, he'd known what Veronica would do. And he'd left Elena a message, hidden away where Veronica couldn't find it. Elena grabbed her purse and headed for the door, then stopped. Veronica's voice drifted up from the study. She was on the phone, her tone dripping with false sympathy. Oh, I know. It's all so tragic. Victor was far too young. But I'm managing as best I can. The estate is complicated, of course, but my lawyers assure me everything will be finalized within the month. Yes, the house is entirely mine. No, Elena received a small trust fund, very generous considering. Well, between us, Victor felt obligated because he'd raised her, but they weren't actually blood-related, you know? Elena's hands clenched into fists. Every word was a lie. Victor had been her father in every way that mattered. And Veronica knew it. She descended the stairs silently, grabbed her car keys from the hall table, and headed for her aging Honda. The mansion, her home, her childhood, her memories, loomed behind her in the rearview mirror. But Elena wasn't running away. She was going to find out exactly what her father had left behind. And something told her it was going to be far more than books and jewelry. The safety deposit box was small, nondescript, located in the vault of the bank's main branch. The employee who escorted Elena to the private viewing room was professionally neutral, asking no questions about why a young woman was accessing a box registered to a man who died 3 days ago. Elena's hands shook as she inserted the key, turned it, and opened the metal container. Inside were 3 things: a USB drive, a sealed letter with her name written in her father's familiar handwriting, and a document labeled Codicil to the Last Will and Testament of Victor O'Hara. Confidential. Elena picked up the letter first, her vision blurring with tears as she broke the seal. My dearest Elena, asterisk, if you're reading this, I'm gone. And if Maria gave you this key, it means something has happened that I hope to prevent but planned for anyway. Asterisk, asterisk, I'm not a fool, sweetheart. I know what Veronica is. I've known for longer than you might think. But I had my reasons for the choices I made. Reasons that will become clear soon enough. Asterisk, asterisk, in this box, you'll find 3 things, asterisk, asterisk 1. A USB drive containing evidence of Veronica's true nature, including her real identity, her history of targeting wealthy men, and proof of her plans for my estate. I've been investigating her for 2 years. Asterisk, asterisk 2. This letter, which I hope explains why I did what I did. Asterisk, asterisk 3. A codicil to my will, a secret provision known only to Arthur Price and now you. Read it carefully. Asterisk, asterisk Elena, I let Veronica think she'd. 1. Because I needed her to reveal herself completely. I needed documented proof of her intentions. And I needed you to see the truth about her before I protected you from it. Asterisk, asterisk the primary will she'll see is real. It does leave everything to her, temporarily. But the codicil contains a condition she doesn't know exists. If she ever attempts to remove you from your rightful place as my daughter and heir, if she tries to exclude you from your home or your inheritance, if she demonstrates the greed I know lives in her heart, everything transfers to you. Immediately and irrevocably. Asterisk, all she has to do is exactly what her nature compels her to do. Betray you. Asterisk, and when she does, you'll have everything. Not because I don't trust you to build your own fortune. You're brilliant, and I know you will. But because you deserve what I built. Because you're my daughter. Because I love you more than words can express. Asterisk, asterisk, be patient, sweetheart. Let her show her true colors. Let her think she's won. And when the time is right, Arthur will activate the codicil. Asterisk, asterisk, trust the process. Trust Arthur. And most importantly, trust yourself. Asterisk, asterisk, you're stronger than you know. You have your mother's brilliance and my strategic mind. Together, those gifts make you unstoppable. Asterisk, asterisk, I'm so proud of you. Always have been. Always will be. Asterisk, all my love. Dad, asterisk, PS. The USB also contains videos. Messages I recorded for you. For moments when you need to hear my voice. You're never alone, Elena. Never. Asterisk, Elena clutched the letter to her chest, tears streaming down her face. Her father had known, had planned for this, had protected her even from beyond the grave. With shaking hands, she picked up the codicil and read, "In the event that Veronica Corleone O'Hara attempts to exclude, disinherit, remove from residence, or otherwise deprive Elena Rebecca O'Hara of her rights as daughter and heir to Victor O'Hara, the entirety of the estate, including all properties, businesses, investments, and assets, shall immediately and permanently transfer to Elena Rebecca O'Hara, with Veronica Corleone O'Hara receiving only the minimum spousal inheritance required by law, $50,000. This transfer shall be automatic and irrevocable upon evidence of any such attempt, as determined by Arthur Price, executor of this estate." Veronica had kicked her out, had told her to leave within 2 weeks, had excluded her, dismissed her, treated her as worthless. Which meant, according to the codicil, everything, the house, the fortune, the business, all $42 million, now belonged to Elena. Veronica had just lost everything. She just didn't know it yet. What would you do with this power? Tell Veronica immediately, or let her keep digging her own grave. Drop your thoughts below. And if you're not subscribed yet, hit that button now to see more emotional stories like this. Elena sat in her car outside the bank for 20 minutes, her father's letter clutched in her hands, reading it over and over until the words blurred together. Asterisk, let her show her true colors. Let her think she's won. Asterisk, Veronica had already shown her true colors. Had already kicked Elena out. Already claimed everything. Already revealed the greed her father had known was lurking beneath the designer clothes and practiced tears. Which meant the codicil was active. Elena pulled out her phone and called Arthur Price. "Arthur, it's Elena O'Hara. I need to see you.
Today.
Now, if possible." "Elena." His voice was warm but cautious. "Is everything all right? I found my father's safety deposit box. I read the codicil." She took a shaky breath. "Arthur, Veronica kicked me out of the house. Gave me 2 weeks to pack and leave. She said it's her house now, and I'm trespassing." Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, "When did this happen?" 2 hours ago, right after you left." "I see." Another pause. "Elena, can you come to my office? There are things we need to discuss. Things I wasn't permitted to tell you while the conditions hadn't been met." "I'm on my way." Arthur Price's law office occupied the top floor of a historic building downtown, all dark wood and leather furniture and walls lined with law books. He was waiting for her in his private conference room, the door closed, his expression grave. "Your father was one of the most brilliant men I've ever known," Arthur said without preamble. "And one of the most strategic. Elena, he came to me 18 months ago with concerns about Veronica." "What kind of concerns?" Arthur pulled out a thick file. He'd hired a private investigator. What they found was troubling. Veronica Corleone. That's her real name. By the way, she never legally changed it to O'Hara. Has a history. 3 previous relationships with wealthy older men. All ended with the men dead and Veronica substantially wealthier. Elena's blood ran cold. "You think I don't think anything. The deaths were all ruled natural causes. Heart attacks, strokes. But the pattern was concerning enough that your father wanted to protect himself. And you." Arthur opened the file. He came to me and said, "Arthur, if something happens to me, I need to know Elena will be protected. But I also need to catch Veronica in the act of showing exactly who she is. So, he created the codicil. He created the perfect trap. The primary will gives Veronica everything which she wanted. But if she does exactly what her nature compels her to do, try to exclude you, the rightful heir, she loses it all. Arthur leaned forward. Elena, your father knew she'd kick you out. Knew she'd try to erase you from his legacy. He was counting on it.
But why?
Why not just divorce her? Why not expose her before? Because he needed proof. Documented, irrefutable proof that she married him for money and nothing else. If he'd divorced her, she'd have gotten half of everything in the settlement. This way, Arthur's smile was thin. This way, she gets $50,000, the minimum required by law. Elena absorbed this. Her gentle, kind father had orchestrated an elaborate sting operation against his own wife. There's more, Arthur continued. The USB drive you found. It contains evidence that Veronica has been slowly poisoning your father for the past 6 months. The room spun. What? Small doses of beta blockers mixed into his coffee. Not enough to kill him quickly, but enough to weaken his heart over time. Your father discovered it 3 months ago when he started feeling unwell and had his regular coffee tested by a private lab. He confronted Veronica, but not directly. He let her think he hadn't noticed. Meanwhile, he documented everything. She murdered him. Elena's voice was hollow. She actually murdered him.
We believe so, yes.
But proving it would have been difficult without a full investigation, and your father didn't want to put you through that. So instead, he did what Victor O'Hara did best. He created an elegant solution. He let her win. And in winning, she'd lose everything. Arthur pulled out another document. This is a formal notification of codicil activation. The moment you tell me you want to proceed, I file this with the probate court. Within 24 hours, all assets transfer to you. Veronica will be escorted from the property and given exactly what the law requires, $50,000 and whatever personal items she brought into the marriage. Elena looked at the document. One signature, and everything changed. She'd have the house, the company, the fortune. Veronica would have nothing. Asterisk, is this what you want, Dad? Revenge? Asterisk, but no. This wasn't revenge. This was justice. This was protecting the next victim Veronica might have targeted. This was honoring her father's final wishes. There's one more thing, Arthur said quietly. The USB drive contains evidence of Veronica's plans for after your father's death. Emails to a man named Derek Vaughn, her actual boyfriend. They've been planning this for 2 years. She was going to sell the house, liquidate the business, and disappear with Derek to the Cayman Islands. Your father's death was always the endgame. Elena felt something harden inside her chest. Her father had been alone in his final months, married to a woman who was actively poisoning him, planning his death, counting down the days until she could cash out and run. And Elena had been living in the same house, completely unaware. I want to proceed, Elena said, her voice steady. File the codicil. Today. Arthur nodded. Before I do, you should know Veronica will fight this. She'll claim the codicil is invalid, that you manipulated your father, that. Let her fight. She'll lose. You said my father documented everything.
He did.
But Elena, this will get ugly. Very ugly. Are you prepared for that? Elena thought of her mother, fierce, uncompromising Rebecca O'Hara, who'd fought for justice even when it cost her everything. She thought of her father, brilliant, strategic Victor, who'd planned for this moment with careful precision. She was their daughter. Both of them. I'm prepared, Elena said. Do it. Arthur filed the codicil activation at 3:47 p.m. By 4:15 p.m., the probate judge had reviewed the documents and issued an emergency order. By 5 p.m., a courier was delivering the notification to Veronica at the mansion. Elena watched it all happen from Arthur's office, her hands shaking but her resolve firm. What happens now? She asked. Now we wait for Veronica to react. She has 24 hours to vacate the property and remove her personal belongings. After that, she's trespassing. Arthur's phone buzzed. That's the security company. I've arranged for them to change all the locks tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. I've also notified the household staff that their employment continues under your authority, not Veronica's. Elena's phone exploded with calls. Veronica, Veronica, Veronica. She declined them all. Then a text came through. What the hell did you do? Followed by, you manipulative little bitch. You think you can steal what's mine? And I'll destroy you. I'll prove you coerced Victor. Elena turned off her phone. She knows, Arthur observed. Good. Let her panic. Elena, I have to ask, do you want to press criminal charges? For the poisoning? We have enough evidence for the DA to investigate. Elena was quiet for a long moment. Part of her wanted Veronica in prison, wanted her to pay for every lie, every manipulation, every moment of her father's suffering. But another part, the part that sounded like her father's voice, whispered something different. Not yet, Elena said. Let's see how she reacts. If she leaves quietly, takes her $50,000 and disappears, maybe that's enough. But if she fights, if she tries to drag my father's name through the mud or come after me, then we use everything. We bury her. Arthur smiled. Your father would be proud. That's exactly what he would have done. Elena drove back to the mansion. Her mansion now, she reminded herself as the sun set over the city. The gates opened automatically as her car approached, and she pulled into the circular driveway just as Veronica stormed out of the front door. The widow's mask was completely gone. Veronica's face was twisted with rage, her perfect makeup streaked with tears that were finally, genuinely emotional. You conniving little snake, Veronica screamed, racing toward Elena's car. You think you can do this? You think you can take everything from me? Elena stepped out of the car, surprised by how calm she felt. I didn't take anything, Veronica. I'm just claiming what was always mine. My father's house. My inheritance. My home. Victor left everything to me. I'm his wife. You were his wife. A wife who poisoned him, planned his death, and was already preparing to run off with your boyfriend. Elena's voice was quiet but sharp. Did you really think my father didn't know? That he didn't see exactly who you were? Veronica's face went white. I don't know what you're talking about, Derek Vaughn. Cayman Islands. 2 years of emails planning how you'd spend my father's money once he was conveniently dead. Elena took a step closer. My father knew everything, Veronica. And he left you exactly what you deserve. $50,000 and a one-way ticket out of our lives. This is fraud. That codicil is fake. I'll sue, You'll lose. My father had the best lawyers in the state. Everything is airtight, witnessed, notarized. You have 24 hours to pack your things and leave. After that, you're trespassing. Veronica's expression shifted from rage to calculation.
Fine.
You want to play hardball? I'll tell everyone what kind of man your father really was. The affairs he had, the shady business deals, Go ahead, Elena interrupted calmly. Make up whatever lies you want. But know that the moment you do, I release everything we have on you to the police and the media. Your real name, your history, the evidence of poisoning. All of it. She could see Veronica doing the math, weighing her options. You have a choice, Elena continued. Take the money, leave quietly, and we never speak again. Or fight this and end up in prison. Personally, I'm hoping you choose option 2. My father deserves justice. But I promised Arthur I'd give you the chance to disappear. Veronica's hands were trembling. I loved him, she said, and for just a moment, Elena wondered if there was any truth in it. But then Veronica smiled, that same cold, calculating smile from the funeral, and Elena knew better. I'll be gone by tomorrow morning, Veronica said. But this isn't over, Elena. You think you've won, but I know I've won. My father made sure of it. Elena turned toward the house. Goodbye, Veronica. I hope I never see you again. As Elena walked through the front door of her home, truly her home now, she heard Veronica's car peel out of the driveway, tires screeching on the pavement. Maria appeared in the hallway, tears streaming down her face. Miss Elena, is it true? Is the house really yours? It's true, Maria. Everything my father built. It's mine now. Which means your job is safe. Everyone's jobs are safe. The housekeeper pulled her into a tight hug. Your father was a good man. A smart man. He knew exactly what she was. Yes, he did. Elena's voice cracked. He knew, and he protected me anyway. As she climbed the stairs to her father's study, the room she'd avoided since his death, Elena felt the weight of what had just happened settle over her. Her father was gone, but his love, his protection, his brilliant strategic mind, those remained. And now Elena had to decide what to do with the empire he'd left her. What she didn't know was that Veronica's departure was only the beginning, and that the real battle was about to start. Would you have given Veronica a chance to leave peacefully, or would you have gone straight to the police? Let me know in the comments. And if you're as invested in Elena's journey as I am, make sure you're subscribed. Day 2. 6:47 a.m. Elena woke to the sound of shattering glass. She bolted upright, heart hammering, and grabbed her phone. The security app showed multiple alerts, motion detected at the south entrance, the garage, the conservatory. Someone was breaking into the house. Elena dialed 911 with shaking hands, then pulled up the security camera feeds. What she saw made her blood run cold. Veronica hadn't left. She was in the garage with Derek Vaughn, a muscular man in his 30s with cold eyes, and they were loading Elena's father's vintage car collection onto a transport truck. 911. What's your emergency? There's a robbery in progress at 2847 Hillcrest Manor. My stepmother is stealing vehicles from the property. Ma'am, if it's family, this might be a civil matter. She has no legal right to be here. I have a court order transferring the property to me. She's trespassing and stealing. Elena's voice was steel now. Send officers immediately. She threw on clothes and raced downstairs, just as the new security team Arthur had hired came screeching up the driveway. 2 patrol cars followed moments later. Veronica saw the police and smiled. Actually smiled, like she'd been expecting this. Officers, thank God you're here. Veronica called out, her voice dripping with false relief. This woman, my stepdaughter, has been trying to steal my late husband's estate. She's forged documents, manipulated the lawyer. Ma'am, I have the court order right here, Elena interrupted, pulling out the papers Arthur had given her. The property legally transferred to me yesterday at 4:15 p.m. Mrs. Corleone has no right to remove anything. The senior officer examined the documents, then looked at Veronica. Ma'am, do you have documentation proving ownership of these vehicles? They belong to my husband. We were married. The court order is clear, the officer said. All property transfers to Miss O'Hara. You need to leave the premises immediately. Derek stepped forward, his posture threatening. This is bullshit. Victor promised Veronica everything. This little bitch manipulated a dying old man, dying because Veronica was poisoning him, Elena said quietly. Would you like to see the evidence, officers? The lab reports showing beta blockers in his system? The emails between these two planning his death. Veronica's face went sheet white. You can't prove. Actually, I can. My father documented everything before he died. The question is whether you want to leave voluntarily right now, or whether you'd prefer to be arrested for attempted murder. The standoff lasted exactly 10 seconds before Veronica's lawyer arrived, a sharp-suited woman who took one look at the situation and pulled Veronica aside. Elena couldn't hear the whispered conversation, but she saw the exact moment Veronica realized she was beaten. Her shoulders sagged, her mask cracking completely.
Fine, Veronica spat.
Keep your precious house. Keep everything. But don't think this is over, Elena. People like you don't know how to hold on to power. You'll destroy everything your father built within a year. Maybe, Elena said calmly. But at least I won't be doing it from prison. Officers, please escort Mrs. Corleone off the property. As the police supervised Veronica and Derek's departure, Arthur arrived with someone Elena hadn't expected, a tall man in his early 30s with dark hair and intelligent gray eyes. Elena, this is Julian Dawson. He was your father's business partner and COO of O'Hara Technologies. Julian extended his hand, his grip firm and warm. Miss O'Hara, I'm so sorry for your loss. Your father was an exceptional man and a brilliant partner. Elena studied him. Her father had rarely mentioned his business partner, and she'd been so focused on web development that she'd never paid much attention to the company her father had built. Thank you for coming. Though I'm not sure why, because O'Hara Technologies is about to implode, Julian said bluntly. And you need to know what you're inheriting before it's too late. They gathered in her father's study, now Elena's study, she reminded herself, and Julian laid out the situation with brutal efficiency. Your father was the heart of the company. The vision, the relationships with clients, the reputation, all of it centered on him. Now that he's gone, our 3 biggest clients are threatening to pull their contracts. That's $12 million in annual revenue walking out the door. Elena's stomach dropped.
Why?
The technology is still solid. The team is still. Because they don't know you. And Veronica has been making calls, telling people you're inexperienced, that you manipulated your father, that the company is about to collapse under incompetent leadership. Julian pulled out his phone, showed her an email chain. She's been poisoning the well, trying to tank the company's value before you can take control. Why would she do that? She doesn't benefit. Revenge, Arthur said quietly. If she can't have the money, she'll make sure you can't either. Elena read the emails, her anger building with each message. Veronica had contacted every major client, every business partner, spreading lies and doubt. How do we fix this? Elena asked. You show up, Julian said. Tomorrow, there's a board meeting. All the major investors, the key stakeholders. They're voting on whether to force a sale of the company. If you want to save your father's legacy, you need to convince them you're capable of leading. I'm a web developer, not a CEO. You're Victor, O'Hara's daughter. You have his mind, his principles, and now his company. The question is whether you have the courage to fight for it. Julian's gaze was intense. Your father believed you could do this. That's why he left it to you instead of selling it off. Do you believe it? Elena looked around the study. The bookshelves filled with her father's favorite volumes, the desk where he'd built an empire, the photos of them together spanning 26 years. You're stronger than you know. What do I need to do? She asked. First, learn everything about the company. Tonight, I'll send over files, contracts, technology specs, client relationships, everything. You need to walk into that boardroom knowing more than anyone else in the room. And second, Julian smiled. Second, you show them who you really are. Not Victor's grieving daughter, but a tech entrepreneur in your own right. Your startup failed, yes, but the technology was sound. You just ran out of funding before you could scale. I looked into it. Your code was brilliant.
Elena blinked.
You researched my failed company? Your father asked me to about 6 months ago. He wanted my honest assessment of your abilities. I told him you were better than half our senior developers. Julian leaned forward. Elena, you belong in that boardroom. You just don't know it yet. Elena spent the next 16 hours buried in documents. Client contracts, technology patents, financial statements. Her father's company was even more impressive than she'd realized. Cutting-edge accessibility software that helped millions of disabled users interact with technology. This was her father's legacy. Not the money, but the impact. The lives changed. The barriers broken down. Around 2 a.m., Julian appeared with coffee and takeout. You should sleep, he said, setting down Kung Pao chicken and spring rolls. I should learn how to save my father's company, Elena corrected, but she accepted the food gratefully. Tell me about the board. Who's likely to support me? Who's already decided I'm going to fail? Julian settled into the chair across from her father's desk. Thomas Brighton is the biggest investor after you. He's old school, traditional. He'll want proof you can lead. Sarah Chun runs our biggest client relationship. If you can win her over, others will follow. And Marcus Wolf. Julian's expression darkened. He's been trying to buy the company for years. Your father always refused. Now he's seeing an opportunity. Let me guess. He's the one pushing for a forced sale? He's already made an offer. $35 million, well below market value. He's counting on the board panicking and accepting before the company loses more value. Elena did the math. If the company's worth more, why would the board accept? Because they're scared. Scared of instability. Scared of losing everything. Wolf is offering certainty, even if it means losing money. Julian paused. Unless you can offer them something better. Like what? Like a vision. Like proof that Victor O'Hara's daughter inherited more than just his assets. She inherited his brilliance. Julian's gray eyes held hers. Elena, I've read your code. I've seen your startup's technology. You created an AI assistant that was years ahead of its time. It failed because you couldn't secure funding, not because the idea was bad. Where are you going with this? What if we integrate your AI technology into our accessibility software? What if you present that to the board tomorrow, a concrete plan to expand the company's capabilities, proof that you're not just maintaining your father's legacy, but building on it? Elena's mind raced. Her AI assistant had been designed to help people with cognitive disabilities navigate complex tasks. O'Hara Technologies' accessibility software focused on physical disabilities. Together, it would revolutionize the market, she breathed. We could offer comprehensive solutions instead of just mobility assistance.
Exactly.
And you'd be presenting proprietary technology worth millions, technology only you can provide. They'd be fools to force a sale. Elena looked at Julian, really looked at him. Why are you helping me? You could have sided with Wolf, taken a payout, started over somewhere else. Because your father was my mentor. He took a chance on me when no one else would, believed in me when I was just a kid with ideas and no experience. I owe him everything. Julian's voice softened. And because I think you're exactly what this company needs. Fresh perspective, new energy, and the same moral compass that made your father's work matter. Their eyes held for a moment too long, and Elena felt something stir. Awareness, attraction, possibility. Then her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You think you've won, but you have no idea what's coming. Sleep well, sweetheart. The threat was clear. Veronica wasn't done fighting. And tomorrow's board meeting was going to be a war. Have you ever had to prove yourself to people who'd already decided you'd fail? How did you handle it? Share in the comments. And subscribe. 9:58 a.m. Elena stood outside the O'Hara Technologies boardroom, her hands clammy despite the expensive suit Julian had helped her pick out that morning. Through the glass walls, she could see them gathering, the board members who held her father's legacy in their hands. Ready? Julian asked beside her.
No.
But let's do this anyway. The room fell silent when she entered. 12 faces turned toward her, some curious, some skeptical, one openly hostile. Marcus Wolf sat at the far end of the table, his expression smug. Gentlemen, Miss Chun, Elena began, surprised by how steady her voice sounded. Thank you for meeting with me before you vote on the company's future. Thomas Brighton, a silver-haired man in his 60s, cleared his throat. Miss O'Hara, with all due respect, we're here as a courtesy. Your father was a visionary, but you're 26 years old with a failed startup and no executive experience, Elena finished. Yes, I know what I look like on paper. But you're not just looking at Victor O'Hara's daughter. You're looking at someone who's been coding since she was 8, who built AI technology years ahead of its time, and who understands this company's mission better than anyone in this room. Bold words, Marcus Wolf drawled. But words don't save a sinking ship. 3 major clients have already threatened to leave. More will follow. The smart move is to accept my offer while the company still has value. Your offer is $12 million below market value, Elena countered. And those clients are leaving because someone's been spreading lies about my competence. Someone who benefits from destabilizing the company right before a forced sale. She looked directly at Wolf. Tell me, Mr. Wolf, when did Veronica Corleone contact you? Before or after my father died? The room went still. I don't know what you're implying. I'm implying that you and my stepmother have been coordinating. That she's been sabotaging client relationships while you positioned yourself as the white knight with a rescue offer. Elena pulled out her phone, displayed an email on the conference room screen. This is from Veronica to you. Dated 3 weeks before my father's death. Once V is gone, create chaos and buy cheap. Split the profits 60/40ths. Several board members gasped. Sarah Chun leaned forward, her expression sharp. Is this legitimate? It's from the same cache of evidence that proves Veronica was poisoning my father. Julian can verify the metadata. Elena looked around the room. My stepmother and Mr. Wolf have been planning to steal this company for months. And you were about to help them do it. This is absurd. Wolf stood abruptly. That email is fabricated. Then you won't mind if we turn it over to the authorities for authentication. Elena's voice was ice, along with the rest of the evidence showing conspiracy to commit fraud. Wolf's face went purple, but he sat down. Now, Elena continued, let me tell you what I'm actually offering. My father built this company on a simple principle. Technology should serve humanity, especially those who need it most. That mission hasn't changed, but the technology can evolve. She pulled up her presentation. This is the AI assistant I developed for my startup. It helps people with cognitive disabilities navigate complex tasks, everything from cooking to managing medications to organizing schedules. My company failed because I couldn't secure Series B funding.
But the technology is sound.
And it's worth approximately $8 million in IP alone. Sarah Chun was studying the screen intently. This integrates with our existing accessibility suite seamlessly. We'd be offering comprehensive solutions, physical and cognitive accessibility in one platform. No other company in the market can match that. Elena clicked to the next slide. I've already drafted partnerships with 3 disability advocacy organizations who've agreed to pilot the technology. If it works, and it will, we're looking at a 30% increase in market share within 18 months. The room was silent, but it was a different kind of silence now. Interested. Calculating. You did this in one night? Thomas Brighton asked. I did this over 3 years building my company. I've been doing it my whole life, learning from my father. The only difference is now I have the resources to actually execute. Elena met his eyes. Mr. Brighton, you've known me since I was a child. You know my father trusted my judgment. The question is whether you trust it too. Before he could answer, the conference room door burst open. A man in his 50s, disheveled and panicked, rushed in. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I need to speak with Miss O'Hara immediately. It's about her father. Elena's heart stopped. Who are you? Dr. Richard Chun. I was Victor's personal physician. And I need to tell you, your father isn't dead. The room erupted in chaos. That's impossible, Elena breathed.
I saw his body.
There was a funeral. You saw a body your stepmother identified. But Miss O'Hara, I was with your father 3 hours ago. He's alive. And he needs your help. 15 minutes later, private office. Elena sat in shock as Dr. Chin explained, Julian and Arthur Price beside her. Your father came to me 6 months ago with evidence Veronica was poisoning him. We staged his death to protect him and to give Veronica enough rope to hang herself. Dr. Chen's hands were shaking. He's been in a private facility, recovering and documenting everything. But today, someone tried to kill him. Actually kill him. And I think it was Veronica's people. Where is he?
Elena demanded.
St. Catherine's Hospital, under a false name. But, Elena, there's more. When I left him an hour ago, he was asking for you. He said to tell you. Dr. Chen pulled out a folded note. He said to tell you the Nightingale Protocol is active. Elena's blood ran cold. The Nightingale Protocol. Her father had told her about it once, years ago. A failsafe built into the company's core technology, designed to protect it from hostile takeover. If activated, it would lock down every system, every patent, every line of code, making the company worthless to anyone who didn't have the master key. The master key only Elena had. He's protecting the company, she whispered. Even now, he's protecting it. We need to get to him, Julian said. If someone tried to kill him once, they'll try again.
Elena stood.
Arthur, you handle the board. Tell them the meeting is postponed. Julian, you're with me. Elena, wait. Arthur's voice was grave. If your father is alive, the will is void. Everything transfers back to him, which means Veronica is still legally his wife and has the right to make medical decisions for him. Elena's hands clenched into fists. We need to get there before she does. They raced to St. Catherine's, Elena's mind reeling. Her father was alive.
Alive.
But in danger. And Veronica, Elena's phone buzzed. Another text from Veronica. I always win, sweetheart. Always. Your father should have stayed dead. Asterisk, asterisk, she knew. Somehow, Veronica knew Victor was alive. And she was already moving to finish what she'd started. When they burst into the hospital room, two things became immediately clear. First, the man in the bed was indeed her father, gaunt, weak, but unmistakably Victor O'Hara. Second, Veronica was already there, standing over him with a syringe in her hand. Step away from him, Elena said, her voice deadly calm. Veronica turned, smiled that terrible smile. Or what? You'll call security? I'm his wife. I'm authorized to administer his medication. That's not medication. Prove it. Veronica's finger moved toward the plunger. By the time anyone tests it, he'll be dead. For real this time. Elena's mind raced. She was too far away to reach Veronica before she could inject her father. Security was nowhere in sight. Julian was already moving, but he wouldn't make it in time. Then Victor's eyes opened. Barely, weakly, but open. Elena, he whispered. Nightingale, activate.
Elena understood instantly.
She pulled out her phone, opened the company's secure app, and entered the code her father had made her memorize years ago. Every device in the room lit up. Computers, monitors, even Veronica's phone. The company's logo flashed across every screen. Nightingale Protocol active. All systems locked. Unauthorized access will be prosecuted. Asterisk, asterisk, Veronica's phone began broadcasting her location to the police, along with every email, every transaction, every piece of evidence Victor had compiled. What did you do? Veronica screamed. I activated the failsafe my father built. The one that sends everything, every piece of evidence against you, to the FBI, the police, and every major news outlet simultaneously. Elena's voice was steel. You're done, Veronica. The moment you walked in here planning to murder my father, you lost. Security burst through the door, followed by 2 police officers. That's her, Dr. Chen said, pointing at Veronica. That's the woman who tried to poison my patient. Veronica tried to run, but Julian blocked her path. As the officers handcuffed her, she looked at Elena with pure hatred. You think you've won? Your father's alive, which means everything reverts to him. And I'm still his wife. I still get half. You get nothing but a prison cell, Arthur said, entering the room with documents. Victor filed for divorce 3 months ago. I've been holding the papers, waiting for the right moment. That moment is now. Veronica's face went white as the officers led her away. Elena rushed to her father's bedside, tears streaming down her face. Dad, you're alive. You're actually alive. Couldn't let her win, Victor whispered, his hand finding hers. Had to protect you, protect the company.
Sure.
Just rest. You're safe now. As her father drifted back to sleep, Elena felt Julian's hand on her shoulder. "You saved him," Julian said quietly. "You saved everything." Elena looked at the man she'd barely known 48 hours ago, who'd stood by her through every battle, who'd believed in her when no one else did. "We saved him," she corrected. "Together." Their eyes held, and Elena felt something shift between them, partnership deepening into something more. But the fight wasn't over yet. Her father was alive, which changed everything. And Elena still had a company to save. Everything just changed. What would you do if you discovered your dead father was actually alive? Comment below and subscribe. 3 days later, Victor O'Hara's recovery wasn't going as planned. The poison damaged his heart more severely than we initially thought, Dr. Morrison explained, his expression grave. "He needs surgery.
Soon.
But his body is too weak to survive it." Elena sat beside her father's hospital bed, watching his chest rise and fall with mechanical assistance. 3 days of hope were crumbling into despair. "How long does he have?" she asked, her voice hollow. "Without surgery? Maybe a week. With surgery in his current condition? 50-50 chance of survival." Her father, who she'd mourned, buried, and miraculously gotten back, was dying anyway. "There's more," Arthur said, entering the room with documents. "The board voted this morning. They're moving forward with Wolf's sale. Your presentation bought you time, but with Victor incapacitated and unable to vote as majority shareholder, they have the authority to proceed." "That's impossible." "I activated the Nightingale Protocol, which Wolf's lawyers are arguing was done under duress and false pretenses. They've filed an injunction claiming you manipulated your father's failsafe." Arthur's expression was grim. "Elena, without Victor conscious and able to testify to his intentions, the court might side with them." Everything was falling apart. The company her father built, that she'd fought to save, was being stolen anyway. And her father might not survive to see the outcome. Julian appeared in the doorway, his face drawn. "I need to tell you something. Wolf offered me a position as CTO if the sale goes through. 20% equity stake." Elena's heart stopped. And I wanted you to hear it from me before you heard it from someone else. He thinks I'll take it. That I'll abandon you because the company's doomed anyway." Julian moved closer. "He's wrong. But Elena, we're running out of options." "Maybe we should take the deal," Elena whispered, hating herself for saying it. "At least then the technology continues. The mission continues. Even if the O'Hara name doesn't."
No.
Victor's voice was weak but firm. His eyes had opened. "No surrender." "Dad, you need to rest, Elena." He gripped her hand with surprising strength. "In my study, hidden safe, behind Mom's portrait, code is your birthday, everything you need to fight." "What's in the safe?" "The truth about Wolf, about everything." Victor's eyes closed again, his breathing labored. Dr. Morrison ushered them out.
"He needs rest."
That outburst might have set back his recovery. Elena stood in the hallway, feeling the weight of impossible choices crushing her. Her father dying, the company being stolen, Julian being offered everything she couldn't give him. "Go," Julian said quietly. "Check the safe. I'll stay with your father." "Julian, if you want to take Wolf's offer, I don't." He cupped her face gently. "I want to fight beside you, whatever comes. But you need to decide if you're still willing to fight." Elena drove to the mansion alone, her mind spinning. In her father's study, she moved her mother's portrait aside, found the hidden safe, entered her birthday. Inside were documents that made her blood run cold. Marcus Wolf wasn't just trying to buy the company. He was Elena's biological father. And the company, O'Hara Technologies, had been built on technology he claimed Victor had stolen from him 28 years ago. If Wolf could prove it, he wouldn't just own the company. He'd own everything, including the right to destroy the O'Hara legacy completely. Elena sank to the floor, the documents scattered around her, and for the first time since this nightmare began, She felt truly defeated. How could she fight someone who had a legitimate claim? How could she save a legacy that might have been built on theft? And how could she do any of it while her father lay dying? The answer was simple. She couldn't. Elena had finally hit the wall she couldn't climb. When everything falls apart, how do you keep going? Share your thoughts below. And subscribe. That night, Elena sat surrounded by the documents for hours, reading through 28 years of secrets. But the deeper she dug, the more the story changed. Marcus Wolf had been Victor's business partner in the beginning. They'd co-developed the original accessibility software. But then Elena found a different set of papers, patent applications with dates, development logs with timestamps, prototype designs in her father's handwriting. Victor hadn't stolen anything. He'd been the sole creator. And Wolf had tried to claim credit. There was more. A lawsuit from 1995, Wolf v. O'Hara, that had been settled quietly out of court. Victor had paid Wolf $2 million to make him go away, not because he was guilty, but because he'd just lost his wife and couldn't face a prolonged legal battle with a newborn daughter to raise alone. Newborn daughter. Elena pulled out her birth certificate. Rebecca O'Hara listed as mother. Victor O'Hara listed as father. But tucked behind it was a DNA test, dated 1 month after her birth. Elena's hands shook as she read the results. Probability of paternity, 99.97% Victor was her biological father, not Wolf. She kept digging. Found hospital records from her mother's pregnancy. Rebecca had been treated for complications. She'd been assaulted months before Elena was born. The police report named Marcus Wolf as the suspect, though charges were never filed due to insufficient evidence. Elena's stomach turned as understanding crashed over her. Wolf had attacked her mother. And when Rebecca had gotten pregnant with Victor's child, conceived after the assault, Wolf had tried to claim Elena as his, tried to use it as leverage to steal the company. Victor had paid him off to protect Rebecca and baby Elena from a monster. And now that monster was back, using the same lies to steal everything again. Elena's phone rang.
Julian.
You need to come to the hospital. Your father's awake. Really awake. And he's asking for you. St. Catherine's Hospital, 11:47 p.m. Victor sat propped against pillows, weak but conscious. When Elena entered, his eyes filled with tears. You found it, he said. The safe. Dad, why didn't you tell me? About Wolf, about what he did to Mom? Because you deserve to grow up without that shadow. Without knowing that evil had touched our family. Victor's voice was rough but steady. Elena, I'm so sorry. I should have fought him harder back then. Should have put him in prison where he belonged. Instead, I let him hide. And now he's back to finish what he started. Then we finish it first. Elena pulled out her laptop. Dad, I have all the evidence. The original patents in your handwriting, the DNA test proving you're my father, even Mom's police report about the assault. Wolf's claims are lies. All of it. But the board already voted. The vote doesn't finalize until Friday, which gives us 3 days. Elena's eyes blazed with determination. 3 days to expose Wolf, save the company, and make sure he never threatens our family again. Victor smiled, the first real smile she'd seen since his death. That's my girl. You have a plan? I'm working on it. But Dad, I need you to trust me.
Can you do that?
Elena, I've trusted you since the moment you were born. I'm not stopping now. Julian appeared in the doorway. The board agreed to an emergency meeting Friday morning. One final presentation before the sale finalizes. It's your last chance. Elena stood, feeling something shift inside her. Fear transforming into fury. Grief hardening into resolve. Her mother had fought monsters in courtrooms. Her father had built empires from nothing. She was both their daughter. And Marcus Wolf was about to learn what that meant. Let's go to war, Elena said. Are you ready to see Elena take down Wolf? Comment yes below. And subscribe. Friday morning, O'Hara Technologies boardroom ***. Elena walked into the boardroom flanked by Julian and Arthur Price. Victor sat in a wheelchair behind them, against doctor's orders, but he'd insisted on being present. "This is highly irregular," Marcus Wolfe said, standing abruptly. "Victor O'Hara is in no condition to participate in corporate proceedings." "Sit down, Marcus," Victor said, his voice weak but commanding. "I may be dying, but I'm still the majority shareholder. And I'm about to tell these good people exactly who you are." The board members exchanged glances. Thomas Brighton gestured for everyone to sit. Elena connected her laptop to the conference room display. "Ladies and gentlemen, you're about to vote on selling this company to Marcus Wolfe based on his claim that my father stole the original technology from him 28 years ago. Before you vote, you deserve to know the truth." She pulled up the first document, patent applications from 1994. "These are the original patents for our core accessibility software. Note the dates, the signatures, the development logs. All in Victor O'Hara's handwriting, filed 6 months before Marcus Wolfe even joined a company as a junior partner." Wolfe's lawyer stood. "Those documents could be fabricated. They're certified copies from the U.S. Patent Office, with original timestamps and notarization," Arthur interrupted smoothly. "I verified them personally this morning. They're authentic." Elena clicked to the next slide. "But let's say you don't trust documents. Let's talk about something harder to fake. DNA." She pulled up the DNA test results. "Mr. Wolfe has been claiming for 28 years that I'm his biological daughter, that my mother had an affair with him, and that my father stole both his technology and his child. Here's the DNA test proving Victor O'Hara is my biological father. Probability, 99.97%. Sarah Chun was leaning forward now, her expression sharp. "Mr. Wolfe, do you have DNA evidence supporting your claim?" Wolfe's face had gone red. "This is a witch hunt." "No, this is justice." Elena's voice cut like glass. "And we're just getting started." She pulled up the next document, a police report from 1995. 28 years ago, my mother, Rebecca O'Hara, filed a police report against Marcus Wolfe for assault. Sexual assault. The charges were dropped due to insufficient evidence and because my parents didn't want to put my mother through a trial. The room went silent. Marcus Wolfe attacked my mother. When she got pregnant months later, with my father's child, Wolfe tried to claim me as his. Tried to use it as leverage to steal the company. My father paid him $2 million to go away, not because he was guilty of theft, but because he wanted to protect his traumatized wife and newborn daughter from a predator. These are lies. Wolfe was on his feet now, his composure shattered. Rebecca O'Hara was having an affair with me. She wanted me, not Victor. My mother kept a journal. Elena's voice was ice. Documented everything. The assault, the aftermath, her fear of you. I have it here. Would you like me to read the entries describing how you cornered her in the parking garage? How you threatened her if she reported you? How she had nightmares about you for years? Wolfe lunged toward Elena, but Julian was faster, blocking him. Security moved in, restraining Wolfe as he screamed. "You can't prove any of this. It's all circumstantial." "Then let's talk about something more recent," Elena said calmly. She pulled up a new set of documents. "These are emails between you and Veronica Corleone. Planning my father's murder. Planning to destabilize the company so you could buy it cheap. Planning to, and I quote, finally take what should have been mine 28 years ago." She looked at the board members. "Marcus Wolfe isn't a legitimate buyer. He's a predator who's been stalking my family for 3 decades. And you are about to sell him my father's legacy." Thomas Brighton stood slowly. "Miss O'Hara, are these documents authenticated?" "Every single one. And I've already turned copies over to the FBI. Mr. Wolfe is going to be arrested the moment he leaves this building." Elena's eyes found Wolfe's. "You tried to destroy my family. You assaulted my mother. You tried to steal my father's work. And when that didn't work, you waited 28 years and tried again. But here's what you didn't count on, Victor said, wheeling himself forward. You didn't count on my daughter being smarter than both of us, braver than both of us, and having enough of her mother's fire to burn down anyone who threatens this family. Wolf was led away by security, still screaming threats and denials. 2 FBI agents were waiting in the hallway. Arthur had called them that morning. After Wolf was gone, Sarah Chin spoke first. Miss O'Hara, I owe you an apology. We all do. We were ready to betray Victor's trust because we were scared. You were misled by a very skilled manipulator, Elena said. But now you have a choice. Vote to proceed with the sale to a criminal, or trust me to lead this company the way my father intended, with integrity, innovation, and a commitment to our mission. Thomas Brighton looked at Victor. What do you say, old friend? Is she ready? She was born ready, Victor said softly. I just needed her to realize it. Then I moved to cancel the sale and confirm Elena O'Hara as CEO of O'Hara Technologies, Brighton said. All in favor? Unanimous. Even the members who'd been skeptical raised their hands. Elena felt tears prick her eyes, but she blinked them back. There would be time for emotion later. Right now, she had a company to run. Thank you for your trust, she said. I promise I'll earn it every single day. As the board filed out, Julian approached her with a smile. CEO O'Hara has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Elena looked at her father, who was watching her with unmistakable pride. Dad, you should get back to the hospital. In a minute. First, I need to tell you something. Victor reached for her hand. Elena, I'm proud of who you've become. Your mother would be too. You didn't just save the company today. You honored everything we built it for. I learned from the best.
No, sweetheart.
You learned from the best, and then you became better. He smiled. Now go run my company. And maybe take Julian to dinner to thank him for standing by you through all of this. Julian's ears turned red. Elena laughed, the first genuine laugh in weeks. Subtle, Dad. Real subtle. As they wheeled Victor back to the hospital, Elena stood in the empty boardroom, looking out over the city. Her city now. Her company. Her legacy to build. Veronica was in prison awaiting trial. Wolf would join her soon. Her father was alive and recovering. And Elena had discovered something she'd been searching for her entire life. Proof that she was exactly where she belonged. Not because her father left her a company, but because she'd earned the right to lead it. Justice served. But there's one more chapter to this story. Subscribe to see how Elena's new beginning unfolds. 6 months later, Elena stood at the window of her corner office, the one that had been her father's, watching the sunrise paint the city gold. Behind her, the wall displayed a new portrait. Victor and Rebecca O'Hara, young and in love, the foundation of everything she'd become. Penny for your thoughts? Julian appeared with 2 coffees, a morning ritual they'd fallen into over the past months. Just thinking about how much has changed. Elena accepted the cup, their fingers brushing in a way that still made her heart skip. 6 months ago, I thought I'd lost everything. Now you're CEO of a company that just landed its biggest contract ever. Your father's in remission, and you're about to announce the AI integration that's going to revolutionize accessibility technology. Julian smiled. Not bad for someone who is sleeping on her best friend's couch. Elena laughed. When you put it that way. Her phone buzzed. A text from her father. * board meeting at 10.
Don't be late.
And bring Julian. We need to discuss his promotion to COO. Officially. * Dad's feeling bossy today. Elena showed Julian the text. Though he's right. You've earned the COO position. If you want it. I want it, Julian said softly. But, Elena, I want you to be sure. Mixing business with whatever this is between us, it's complicated. Elena set down her coffee and turned to face him fully. Over the past 6 months, their partnership had deepened into something neither of them could deny anymore. Late nights planning strategy. Stolen moments between meetings. The careful dance of two people falling in love while building an empire together. Julian Dawson, are you asking me to define our relationship? I'm asking if you're ready to. Because I am. I'm ready for all of it, COO, boyfriend, whatever you want to call me. As long as I'm yours. Elena kissed him then, soft and certain.
Mine.
I like the sound of that. The board meeting, 10:00 a.m. Victor O'Hara stood at the head of the table. Actually stood, his recovery nothing short of miraculous, and looked around at the assembled board with satisfaction. 6 months ago, you took a chance on my daughter. Today, I'm here to tell you what I've known her entire life. Elena O'Hara is the finest CEO this company could ask for. He pulled out a document, which is why I'm officially stepping down as chairman and transferring my shares into a trust with Elena as the primary beneficiary. She's not just running this company.
She owns it now.
Completely. Elena's eyes filled with tears. Dad, you've earned it, sweetheart. Every share, every decision, every sleepless night worrying about our mission.
This is yours now.
Build something beautiful with it. The board erupted in applause. After the meeting, Elena found her father in his old office, now a space for mentoring young entrepreneurs. Are you sure about this? She asked. Giving up control? I'm not giving it up. I'm passing it on to someone better, equipped to carry it forward. Victor pulled her into a hug. Your mother and I built this company on a dream that technology could change lives. You're living that dream, Elena, making it bigger than we ever imagined. I couldn't have done it without you, without everything you taught me. You could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to. He held her at arm's length, studied her face. You're happy, really happy. I can see it. I am. The company's thriving. Julian and I are, she blushed, figuring things out. And you're healthy. Dad, I have everything I never knew I wanted. Good, because you deserve it all. The success, the love, the legacy. Never let anyone make you feel less than extraordinary. Elena thought of Veronica, currently serving 8 years for attempted murder and fraud. Of Marcus Wolf, awaiting trial for assault and conspiracy. Of every person who'd underestimated her, dismissed her, tried to erase her. They'd all learned the same lesson. Underestimating a woman with nothing to lose and everything to prove was a fatal mistake. That evening, Elena stood in the mansion's garden, her mansion, her home, her sanctuary, and watched Julian play with the dog they'd adopted together last month. Her phone chimed with a notification. The tech blog headline read, O'Hara Technology stock hits all-time high. AS CEO Elena O'Hara announces groundbreaking AI accessibility platform. She smiled, but not because of the stock price. She smiled because she'd taken her father's legacy and built something even more beautiful. Because she'd turned betrayal into triumph. Because she'd learned that the greatest inheritance wasn't money or property. It was the strength to rebuild when everything fell apart. Julian caught her eye across the garden and smiled, and Elena felt her heart swell with possibility. Her stepmother had tried to cut her out of her father's will. But she'd failed to understand one crucial truth. You can't cut someone out of a legacy they were born to inherit. And Elena O'Hara was just getting started. Thank you for joining Elena's journey from betrayal to triumph. Remember, your legacy isn't what's given to you, it's what you build with your own hands. If this story inspired you, subscribe and share it with someone who needs to remember their own power.